Hello and welcome to our IPL Weekly for Season 8. It's our draft recap / season preview. I'm joined by a brand new head coach in our league, at least for regular seasons. Griffin, coach of the Atlanta Altarias. How you doing, Griffin?
Fantastic.
That
Happy
is
to
great
be
to hear.
here.
I am very happy to have you here. We have a lot of new teams in this league, a lot of new coaches this season, so it should be really interesting. I'm going to be switching between calling it IPL and IPBL. I don't know where we are on our rebrand. We'll have to contact the commissioner after this to see what he says about what we're supposed to call this league. But I do apologize for that. But yeah, we're just going to we're going to go through each team, talk about what we think about them, go through the week 1 matchups as well, and then maybe do some season previews at the end. So I'm going to pull up our little sheet here. First up is the Bayern Munchlax. Some things to note for our league is that only tiers 4 and 5 can Terrablast. Or not Terrablast. No one can Terrablast. Only tiers 4 and 5 can Terastallize. You had to draft one from each tier, including 2 tier 3s, and then you had 400 points to use however you wanted for a total of 10 Pokemon. Pretty standard clauses outside of that. The standard Smogon clauses. You cannot baton pass stats or substitutes. I'm sure I'm missing some other stuff. No evasion boosting and stuff like that as well. So the first team we have is the Bayern Munchlax, coached by Steven, former champion of the IPBL. He's got a pretty fascinating team. He has Baxcalibur, Rotom Wash, Hatterene, Clodsire, Magneton, Sableye, Volcarona, Toedscruel, Kilowattrel, and Braviary. So those were his 10 Pokemon. He picked Baxcalibur first overall in the draft. A very interesting pick, but I think something that I like. What are your initial thoughts on this team, Griffin? What do you like about it? We'll start with what do you like about it?
Yeah. So, I picked second, and I was also considering Baxcalibur. But it was really interesting to see it go first. I didn't quite expect it to go first. And, but I think Baxcalibur, Rotom Wash, Hatterene, that 1, 2, 3 right there is extremely strong, and it might be like one of my favorite trios of all the teams. You just have a ton of offense in Baxcalibur, great bulk in the other two, and denying hazards. And then Hatterene can hit. I think Hatterene, like playing on the ladder, has been the one that has just wrecked me the most.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this team.
Yeah, I like this team a lot. Hatterene, I think, is pretty good value as a tier 3 in this generation. We know how big hazards are, so having Magic Bounce is huge, especially since his removal right now is Toedscruel and Braviary. Braviary with Defog, Toedscruel with Rapid Spin. Not the greatest removal options, and certainly not Pokemon that you think, oh, I have to bring those every week. So I think having that Magic Bounce is really nice as well. Only one Stealth Rocker from what I can tell right now with Clodsire, but I'm excited to see Clodsire as well, because I think being able to run Water Absorb or Unaware is really nice for Steven. I've been seeing a lot of Water Absorb on the ladder, but Unaware is just a phenomenal ability in Draft League as well.
Yeah.
So 3 electric types, which I think is fascinating. 2 flying types with the Braviary and Kilowattrel. But I mean, there's some stuff that Steven can do, especially with Sableye. I mean, he can run Sunny Day or Rain Dance with those Pokemon to power up the Volcarona. Rain Dance for the Kilowattrel. The other thing is he does have spikes and T-spikes from Toedscruel, and obviously the Stealth Rock, like I said, from Clodsire, and with competitive as well with Kilowattrel. That's another really good ability.
Yeah.
So you know it's a really interesting team. I do feel like looking at the team, the first 4 that we see on the screen there are probably going to come more often than not. I mean, and Volcarona.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested to see how Steven leverages his low tier Mons. I do like the speed tiers. The speed is hard to come by in this generation, so having a base 125 is really good. He has 2 base 100s, then like 87, 86, 80, then 70, 50. So I mean, having those speed tiers I think is really nice. But yeah, pretty fascinating team. He has some good switch initiative too, honestly, with multiple Volt Switchers and the U-turn for Braviary. So yeah, I mean, Steven's a great battler, so, you know, he can really make any team work. Yeah, I mean, it's really the team doesn't really like. I'm not 100% sure like how I would use this team, so I feel like I don't have great analysis on it beyond like the obvious because they're not mons that I think I would really have success using, but I think Steven definitely can because Excalibur's a monster once it sets up, and
Yeah.
you know, having that immunity to fire as well, like is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was talking to you during the draft. Really, the whole time, I was expecting him to take Slowking.
Same.
Because the what's the chilling reception, that move into Baxcalibur is an insane combination. But I think still like, you still got like, I mean, Baxcalibur behind a Tailwind is kind of terrifying. Like you put a band on that with Glaive Rush. And so you kill Wattrel with wind power. There's some Tailwind possibility there too.
True.
Yeah, so it's I also, you talked a lot about the type overlap that he's got. He's got a couple electrics, a couple flying. They all can Terra, right?
That's
so I
true.
think that's that's maybe not a huge issue.
Yeah, true. He can. Yeah. Kilowattrel, Braviary, Sableye, and Magneton are the Pokemon that can Terra on his team. I mentioned the competitive. He also has Defiant on Braviary, so it's not going to be easy to defog against him. Toedscruel's really interesting. Oh, go ahead. You go.
Yeah, one more thing. I when I was looking at his team and I saw Magneton, like a terrestrialized Magneton with Analytic, that could be really interesting. Because you just Terra to take a hit, and you go second and hit really hard.
True.
So.
I mean, and just having the magnet pull really helps check Hatterene's counters, you know. So I mean, it's gonna be Hatterene could be a setup sweeper some weeks. So, and honestly, steel types are hard for Baxcalibur to deal with. I mean, Baxcalibur does so much damage that it can deal with steel types, but being able to get rid of the steel types by being able to trap them could be quite big. But that's true. I mean, Magnicon can Terra flying, and you know, dodge an earthquake and volt switch around. So, I mean, it'll be it's a really fun team. He does have a bye week, week 1, unfortunately, so we won't get to see the team in action until week 2. But I'm excited to see what he does with it. Like I said, the other thing I did want to mention is Toedscruel. Its ability puts it last in the priority bracket, or I think it's -1 priority maybe. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what the priority is on that, but it says it does give it.
I'll look it up.
Okay, it gives its status moves negative priority, but it does ignore abilities. So against Pokemon like Garganacl or Goldengo, you know, you can actually spore those Pokemon, or Toxic Garganacl. You know, Earth Power Giga Drain is just really solid stab for Toedscruel. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm like I keep saying, it's an exciting team. A lot of fun Pokemon that have existed in previous generations, like Braviary and Magneton, that don't really get to shine on Draft League. I think might have really, really big roles this season for him. Braviary is super scary. Bulk Up Braviary is so scary, especially since it can Terastallize and can get stabbed like close combat. And that's a little scary to me.
Scary. Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, you can't drop its stats. So, I think my prediction for this team is Braviary is going to get at least one setup sweep this season. Any last thoughts on the Biotech?
I wasn't even considering Braviary as a threat, so thanks for that.
No, Braviary is strong. It's got 100 HP, so it's bulky, 123 attack, and 80 speed is not bad in this current meta. I mean, it can U-turn, it gets some decent coverage with Zen Headbutt, you know, Rock Slide, Iron Head, and then it gets like close combat, Brave Bird, Facade. Some of these moves feel like they're new, like Iron Head, Rock Slide. Which it also does get sheer force, so it can boost its Zen Headbutt.
Gets Shadow Claw.
Yeah, I
Dang,
guess so.
all right.
Yeah, so you can. There's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. This has a lot of potential to be a good Terra sweeper, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let me import the next team, which happens to be your team, the
Right.
Atlanta Altarias. So you had the number 2 pick in the draft, and you decided to go with Iron Moth. Once I can. Okay, wait. I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize to the viewer. Okay, we should be good now. Yes. Okay. All right. You took Iron Moth with your first pick, and then you got how are we deciding to pronounce this Pokemon? Quaquaval?
Whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever
big Quack, Michael Quackson, as I like to call it. Screamtail, Noivern, Mismagius, Masquerain, Kingambit, Swalot, Breloom, and Mudsdale. So the Pokemon that can Terra on this team are Mismagius, Masquerain, Swalot, and Mudsdale. But yeah, so what prompted you to take the Iron Moth? What went into that decision?
So I was considering a couple bonds. I was considering Baxcalibur, of course, which got taken. I was considering Tusk and Tinglu. I think were like the main ones. And just thinking about it, I wanted something fast, and that fulfills that criteria. And it's just a great special sweeper. And I was looking through the mons, and I just couldn't find a ton of really good special sweepers that were fast. And I saw it has amazing coverage, and of course can get the booster energy boost. So I just thought this is kind of a unique mon that I can't really get later in the draft. So that's why I took it first.
Yeah, it's a really, really fascinating Pokemon. It has, as we can see there, base 140 special attack, base 110 speed. You can run the Quark Drive or the booster energy, like you said, to boost its special attack. It can agility fiery dance, which is really difficult to deal with. It gets, like you said, a lot of great coverage. Discharge, energy ball, dazzling gleam, hurricane, bug buzz.
Yeah. Psychic.
I mean, that's psychic. It can U-turn too. So I mean, really, really phenomenal Pokemon. I think. I think this Pokemon is going to absolutely wreck shop in this league. You have a super, super fast team. Because, well, I mean, yeah, you have 4 Pokemon above base 100. And usually when I see the 105, maybe I should go through your entire team. Oh no, I did already go through your entire team. I'm sorry, I'm going crazy today. But usually when I see like 105 to 85, that makes me nervous because anything between like base 100 and 104 speed can just run Adamant or Modest. But you can't really do that against Screamtail, because Screamtail's not going to run max speed. So, I mean, it could. But I do think that kind of changes the calculus when you're prepping for your team, because Screamtail can run 300 base or 300 speed pretty easily to outspeed like an Adamant base 100 Pokemon. So you still do have to run Jolly or Timid. At least I think you do. So you have such speedy Pokemon. You also do have the Sticky Web, which I think with Quaquaval and Iron Moth is super, super scary. And even with Kingambit, honestly. So I'm excited. I mean, I thought that was great. Screamtail gives your team a lot of survivability. You can wish Mudsdale back up, which could be quite annoying. You can obviously wish Baton Pass pretty much anything on the team. Got a lot of switch initiative, a lot of U-turners. So a really solid team. 2 Toxic Spikers, 3 Stealth Rockers. Does Mudsdale get spikes?
No.
Oh darn! Wait, why is that?
That was one thing I missed.
Why is that the only ground type this generation that does not get spikes?
Dude, so for my last ground pick, I was considering Mudsdale, Sandaconda, and Palossand, and none of them got spikes. That was gonna be the tiebreaker. None of them got it.
That is quite annoying. I mean, I was telling you, I am a big fan of Mudsdale. And the fact that it can Terra, I think, just makes it even better.
Yeah.
Because you can get but you can get a really easy stamina boost if you Terra on the right turn. Rest, Sleep Talk, Body Press, like Heavy Slam or Earthquake is so good. You can set up the Stealth Rocks. Obviously, it doesn't have Toxic in this generation, but I don't really think that matters.
Fine.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets Roar. I think having that ability to phase might be pretty big this generation with all of the hazards and also just the setup potential of other Pokemon.
Yeah, so many Mons want to set up this generation.
Yeah, exactly. Breloom's such an underrated Pokemon in general.
Yeah.
I always love it early in these generations because it's strong. Like in BDSP too, Breloom was incredible. And I think it's gonna be pretty similar. A pretty offensive team overall that you have. Kingambit, another Pokemon that I think is super scary. Like if someone wants to defog your Sticky Web away, I mean, you can bring to Defiant Kingambit to kind of prevent that. And go to +2. Supreme Overlord is also just a really good ability as well. So, yeah, it's really, really solid team. Really solid team. I like the type distribution. Yeah, I do think Psychic type is a bit of a problem for you, but you do have Screamtail and Kingambit, so I think you should be okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of counting on Screamtail to be like my Draymond Green for this team, basically. Like, super offensive, but just like the one defensive guy to bring it all together, like getting the assists, doing all the grimy like work that no one else wants to do. So
that's true.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll work.
I love that analogy. Mismagius too is one of those Pokemon that can Terra and have 0 weaknesses with the Electric type Terra, and it does get Thunderbolt and Thunder, and I think it also gets Zap Cannon and Charge Beam as well. So I mean, you can get a stab on all of those moves. With the Electric, and it cannot be statused. So, or not. What am I? It cannot be hit with a super effective move, rather. So, I mean, I think that's good. I think that's a really good Terra Pokemon. I know you were going back and forth on whether you should drop it, but I don't know. I think it'll be fun to try out. It gets so much coverage that it could be just a really good Terra Pokemon, especially with Nasty Plot and the 105 speed tier. So, yeah. Well, what do you think about Mismagius and its role on your team?
Yeah. Yeah, the thing gets a ton of coverage. Good speed tier. I mean, so like you mentioned Dazzling Gleam. It also gets Dark Pulse, Hyper Voice. So if there's another Ghost in, well, I can switch. I can Terra Normal.
Right.
Mystical Fire, Power Gem.
Oh, did it keep Mystical Power? About Mystical Fire?
Yeah, it's got it. Plus, it's got Nasty Plot. So, like, I like this Mon. My concern with it was, so my 2 tier 1 Mons have an Earthquake weakness, and the Levitate makes it somewhat of a switch-in, but the problem is its defense is so low, I don't know if I'll ever feel comfortable switching it in. So I don't know if I can use it for that. So that's why I was kind of thinking maybe I should take a Rotom instead. But I like its place on my team. I'm definitely going to bring it some matches, and like see if it can sweep some people after.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like Kingambit was kind of underrated. Because, I mean, it fell a lot. Like, it didn't really seem like people wanted to draft it. And I didn't really want to draft it for a bit because I felt like, oh, it's Draft League, so, like, people are going to be ready for Supreme Overlord Sucker Punch late game. So, like, it's still really strong, and it's still a guessing game, right? Like, and it sounds like I want to put my opponent in a guessing game where they have to say, well, are they going to sucker? Are they going to hit me with, like, a 120 base powered dark move?
Right.
So, like, and the thing is, like, when you bring it, people keep their counters in the back until you bring it out. So, like, something for, like, Mismagius or something, like, if you want to hit with a Ghost move and their counter's a Dark type, but they don't want to bring it out because Kingambit's coming, then that makes that move a little more free.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Miss Mages. I think it works on my team.
Yeah, and I think you do have options into ground types. You have Intimidate Masquerain if it's a physical ground type. Obviously, a lot of physical ground types get rock type moves. I think everyone does, so that could be a little iffy. I mean, Masquerain's not really switching to anything either, but you do have the Noivern. Breloom can sometimes be a switch in. Mudsdale, honestly, like switches into one Earthquake, gets a stamina boost. You can Terra Flying, or Terra Grass or something, and then you can very easily deal with the physical ground types. But I do think having this Magus, just even as a spin blocker, it is really solid. I didn't mention that your removal options. I mean, Quackleval gets Rapid Spin. I think Noivern kept Defog. I want to say.
Did.
Okay.
It did. Yeah, it has it.
Great. That's great. Noivern kept Defog. I don't think Masquerain has Defog anymore. So yeah. So I mean, you have Noivern and Quackleval, and you have some deterrent, like I said, with the Defiant. So. Yeah, I really like your team. It's a solid team. It's fast. It's really difficult to deal with. I think Screamtail is going to do a lot of heavy lifting this season. I mean, Wish in a fast baton pass is so good because, like, if someone goes into their Poison or Dark or Steel type to, like, try to kill Screamtail, you Wish on the turn they switch, you can literally fast baton pass into Kingambit, get it back healthy, or, I mean, into anything, really. I think that's going to be... I mean, that's a Pokemon I really wanted, so I think it's going to be phenomenal. And then, real quickly, Quackleval. I mean, I think Quackleval is such a good sweeper. 120 speed, or 110 attack, rather. Its signature move gives it the +1 speed boost when you use it. And then it can... I mean, you can get, like, Wave Crash and Aqua Jet and Stab Close Combat, Ice Spinner. It can Swords Dance. It has Moxie. So, I mean, if something's low, you basically get a Dragon Dance and a kill. And you can kind of sweep from there. So, really, really threatening Pokemon on the team that I think are going to be... It's going to be a really, really difficult team to prep for and deal with.
Yeah. I'm also really happy that I got Masquerain because I feel like Sticky Web was a trouble for my team.
Yeah.
And there's basically two mons that are like somewhat viable that Sticky Web. And it's Masquerain and Spite Ops Cold War. And I don't think anyone's gonna take Spite Ops. So yeah, and Masquerain's like a decent mon, so
Masquerain is
happy about it.
Yeah, I mean you can Quiver Dance. Yeah, no, I think you have a couple of Trick Room moves on your team, so if you were to come up against a Sticky Web and you wanted a Trick Room and like just do work with Breloom and Kingambit, I mean you could, and Mudsdale. Mm-hmm. And then you have your own Sticky Web. You deprive people from getting Sticky Web, and then you also have the Defiant again. So I mean, if someone brings their Sticky Web, they have to deal with +2 Sucker Punches. With Kingambit. So. Any other final thoughts on your team?
No, I think I revealed enough about my thoughts.
True. We don't want to do too much here. Oh, look at that! I copied and pasted beforehand, or I copied beforehand. So next up is my team, the Green Bay Yampers. I have Tinglu, Armarouge, Vaporeon, Goodra, Kamala, Primeape, Corviknight, Gengar, Lycanroc, and Ampharos. The Pokemon that can Terastallize are Kamala, Primeape, Lycanroc, and Ampharos. I had the third overall pick. I took Tinglu. I took Corviknight with my second pick. I just really like that combination. They work really well together in terms of weaknesses. And they're both just bulky as hell, so really difficult to deal with. I wasn't able to get a Fairy type, unfortunately. I wanted Screamtail. Screamtail would have been my third pick. And then later on, I kind of wanted Darkspawn, but Kamala is going to have to be my pseudo Fairy. I think it can Terastallize Fairy and get Play Rough, but can also like Wish, Rapid Spin, stuff like that. Primeape, I think, is super slept on. I'm really excited to use this Pokemon. It gets Defiant, and it can Taunt, Bulk Up. It has base 95 speed, and then it gets like Close Combat, Drain Punch, and Rage Fist. I also have... Wait, does Primeape actually get Stealth Rock? Is that real, or is that something wrong with the document? Wait, I have to look this up.
I have... Here, I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
It does! What the heck? Okay, well, that's amazing.
There you go, Matt. What a great pick. Tier 5. Let's be clear, this was Tier 5.
It is a Tier 5. I took it as my third pick, because... Honestly, like, I just really wanted... It was the Pokemon I wanted to use more than anything else, so I took it early. But then, I think I have some really good type synergy. Armarouge gets the Flash Fire, so that helps out with Corviknight. Vaporeon and Goodra also help out with the Fire weakness. Vaporeon gets Water Absorb, and Goodra gets Sap Sipper, so I have immunities to Fire, Water, and Grass there, which I really like. I love having those immunities. I mean, if you want to use a Grass-type move against Ting-Lu, or Vaporeon, I mean, I have Corviknight and Goodra. If you want to use a Fire move against Corviknight, I have Vaporeon and Armarouge. If you want to use a Water-type move against Armarouge or Ting-Lu, I have Vaporeon and Goodra. So I really like having those types of options there. And then, like, towards the end of the... I mean, Gengar, too, I should mention, has 110 base speed. It got Toxic Spikes, which I actually think is a really big buff for Gengar. Because it can force things out in T-Spike. And it's just, I mean, 110 speed and 130 special attack. Ghost is so good in this generation. It's just such a solid Pokemon. Lycanroc, too, I think it can Terra Rock Accel Rock, which I think, there's a lot of... there's a lot of fire types out there. Like, you have Iron Moth. We already saw Volcarona.
Right.
So, I mean, there's like Oricorio. There's Charizard. So, I mean, there's like Scovillain. So, I mean, I think like having that kind of priority could be really helpful. Another Stealth Rock user as well. And then Ampharos. I wanted Raichu for the Electric type immunity with the Lightning Rod. But honestly, Ampharos is a decent Pokemon. I think it has 90 HP, 85 defense, and 90 SPDF, so like decent bulk. And 115 special attack. So honestly, like stats-wise, pretty good value for a Tier 5 that can Terra. And, maybe I'll Cotton Guard and Rest and be annoying as hell.
Yeah, I kind of like this Mon more than Raichu for you, honestly.
I get it, yeah. Raichu's not actually a switch-in, so if you predict it and don't hit Electric-type move, it just dies. So... yeah, Ampharos I think will do some work. But overall, I really like the team. A little on the slower end for my liking, but I mean, there was nothing above the base 112 that I thought really fit my team, except for maybe Noivern. But I thought Goodra, just for what I needed on this team, fit a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this team. I really, really like it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like Kamala was just such a good pick for your team because, well, you've got the immunities that you were talking about, but Kamala is immune to status.
Yes,
which for a bulky team, that's huge. Like, the threat of wasting a turn going for a status move is, it's scary. I mean, this team is... I mean, we were talking before you started recording about Ting-Lu, and its weakness being it doesn't get any recovery, but now it gets wishes from Vaporeon. So
and Kamala.
And Kamala. And see, so Kamala is just like it was just the perfect pick for your team. And yeah, man, it's scary. You are like for special attackers, I feel like you're pretty reliant on Gengar.
Yeah.
I mean, Armarouge is pretty good, but it's slow.
Yeah, Armarouge, so, I mean, it can set up, like, with weak armor. Goodra, I think with the base 110 special attack, also is going to have to do quite a bit special attacking-wise, too. So, no, you're right. I mean, I don't have, I don't have Pokemon that can just one-shot without setting up, really. And like, that could be a problem. I mean, Gengar can, but other than that, that could be a problem. But I think I just have so many support options that really this team's gonna wear stuff down, and then Gengar can come in and win games. Like that's kind of the strategy that I have. I mean, I have Roar on Vaporeon, Roar on Lycanroc. I have Whirlwind on Ting-Lu and Corviknight, so like I have the ability to phase into hazards. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see all of the taunt users I have on this team, which I think is... Taunt is so good, because, there is no heal bell, or aromatherapy.
Yeah.
So I want, and there's Pokemon that I was considering. Like, I want a Pokemon that could absorb status. I was thinking maybe Ursaring, because I like Ursaring with Guts with Eviolite. Seems like it could be really fun. But I do have, I have 2 T-Wave immunities, which every team does that has a ground type and electric type. And then I have Flash Fire for Will-O-Wisp, and then Kamala can absorb everything. And I do like having a grounded poison, obviously, to eat those toxic spikes. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I think, like, the thing with low tiers, they're so much better this generation, at least in our league, because they can Terra. They like have to have some sort of utility on your team, and like looking at my team right now, I personally could see myself bringing any combination of this team any week. So that's what I like. I think like all of these Pokemon are pretty viable for me, at least. And yeah, we'll see. Like I was telling you earlier too that playing super slow is not really my style, but it is a pretty like balanced team too. Like even Pokemon like Tinglu and Vaporeon, which are defensive Pokemon, like Tinglu has base 110 attack, and like Vaporeon has base 110 special attack. So like even without any investment, they have 250 plus in their attack and special attack. I mean, Corviknight even has 87 attack. So it's bulky, but I think the team can wear stuff down. So, yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for this team. I'm pumped to use it. Any other thoughts on it?
I think, for me personally, this is the team I want to play the least. Like, I think that this team has the best, like, so mine's pretty offensive.
Yeah.
I feel like this team is, like, the best, like, suited to check in what I'm bringing. So I'm definitely looking forward to playing you the lead. Well, I mean, like, in terms of my chances. Of course, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I feel like I think you have a decent shot against me, but, I'm not going to say too much, because I don't want to give you ideas. I want to give you ideas.
Of course.
But, we do have a history. We have a bit of a rivalry now.
What are you talking about? I'm 0-4.
Well, no, you're not 0-4, are you?
Aren't I? I can't remember how many times we've played. But you beat me every time.
Did you face me twice in the Ability League?
Maybe once.
Okay, so 0-3. But I mean,
Yeah.
In the World Cup, I had Lugia, so I mean that doesn't really count. We haven't played a proper. We haven't played a proper Pokemon match against each other, so.
All right, then we'll have fun.
Yeah, we'll have fun. We'll have.
But yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it, and I realized I only lost to you, and then once to your brother. But that's it.
All right, yeah, I guess we have something here in Toledo.
Yeah, for sure.
We play week 5, so.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. All right, let's move on. Go ahead.
Wait, real quick. I have one more question about your team.
Oh yeah.
What about like giving out status? What do you have for that? Because nothing's like jumping out to me. Like, do you have Toxic?
I have Toxic on Gengar, Will-O-Wisp on Armarouge, and then like Toxic Spikes and Thunder Wave on Ampharos. Okay. So, I mean that is a bit of a weakness. I don't think. Yeah, I think that's it. So I mean, Toxic Spikes are gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting, I think. But honestly, I think not many Pokemon have Toxic, so I think that's true for a lot of teams.
Right. Yeah. I was looking for like some of my last picks for Toxic Mons, and it was some pickings.
Yeah, it's hard. It is definitely difficult to find those. I did want to see if I could fit Sticky Web onto the team, but Lycanroc and Kamala are way better than Spidops, just as Pokemon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I had to go with those. All right.
No, way better.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so next up is another debut in the league and their first draft league ever. Samir, coach of the Dublin Dragons, possibly the coolest logo in the league. They had the 4th pick overall. Dragapult falls to 4th. Probably the best Pokemon in the draft, honestly.
Probably the best pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Value pick. Yeah.
Tyranitar, Tinkaton, Rotomo, Oricorio, Persian, Toxapex, Donphan, Espathra, and Basculin. The Pokemon that can Terastallize are Basculin, Persian, Oricorio, and... Wait, am I missing one? Persian, Oricorio, Basculin. Yeah, no, that's it. Okay.
No, that's it.
Because he only has one tier 1.
Basculin threat. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I told him to take Basculin because he has Toxapex. But you know, I had on a team in a Wi-Fi league. I think I had Vaporeon and Barraskewda, and that combo was phenomenal for me. Just having a defensive and offensive water type, but the adaptability, water type, Aqua Jet, or you know whatever the hell you want to use, with like Liquidation or Wave Crash. And the other thing is adaptability does boost your Terra. So if you were to Terra into like Superpower, you do get the extra fighting type boost.
It's got Head Smash.
Yeah, that too. So that's a scary Pokemon. It's a really interesting team, I'll say. A lot of really fascinating Pokemon. Another super fast team. I mean, look at the speed tiers. 142, 115, 105, 98, 94, 93, 86.
Jeez.
Super, super fast. Removal is a big problem on his team. Donphan being your only real removal, I think, is not great. And it's not a team that deals with hazards that well. I mean, Dragapult... I just feel like Dragapult's either going to have to run Specs or Heavy Duty Boots pretty much every week. So, I mean, and that's not the worst thing in the world, but, you know, it's just something to consider. Terra Blast is banned, but Oricorio does get Revelation Dance, which is not banned, which is just a stronger version of Terra Blast. So, it can... This Oricorio also includes every form, so... that's a pick I'm excited to see how it works out. You know, Quiver, Revelation, we'll see how that works. Tinkaton, too, is a really interesting Pokemon. He does have 3 South Rocky users. He has the T-Spikes with Toxapex. Yeah, I mean, he does cover his weaknesses decently well. Like, Dragapult, Tyranitar, they cover each other's weaknesses pretty well, especially with Tinkaton, too. Tinkaton has great typing, and it has Gigaton Hammer, which... You know, I mean, it has Swords Hands, Gigaton Hammer, so I want that to do some work this season. Rotomo, I think, was a phenomenal pick for him. I mean, he needed that Pokemon.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's a Grass Electric type with Levitate, so like it's perfect for his team. Persian, interesting. I think Technician Fake Outs with the U-turn, it could be difficult to deal with. Espathra is a Pokemon that scares the shit out of me. I hate playing that Pokemon. I mean, with the Calm Mind Speed Boost combination with Store Power, it cannot Terastallize, so that makes it a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah, that's a blessing.
Yeah, and Donphan, I think, is just a solid Pokemon. So, it's a team that's going to have to do a lot of work early game to put Samir in position to win, because Toxapex, I believe is... well, no, I mean, I guess Rotomo gets Pain Split, and maybe Oricorio gets Roost, but, yeah, it's a fascinating team. I really don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, I think he's got to be really careful with Rotomo, because if that thing goes down...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm throwing on Scarf Earthquake and just kind of going straight through. So, like, that thing staying alive is going to be, like, really huge for him, I think.
Yeah, that is, like, the key to his team. You know, there's not that many Pokemon that can effectively deal with Dragapult, though. I do like later in the draft he got Espathra, he got Rotomo, he got Oricorio, he got some special attackers that take some of that special pressure off of Dragapult, so if it wants to run physical, it can. But like I said, I think it's going to run a lot of special Light weeks because Tinkaton and Tyranitar are there. You know, it would have been nice if he were able to get like a Sandrush user or something like that, like Lycanroc or Houndstone, which is allowed but without Last Respect. So that would have been nice, but I mean, Tyranitar and Dragapult are just 2 super strong Pokemon, and Espathra, like, the game can get away from you if you let them set up once. So,
absolutely.
I think he'll be able to snag some wins this season.
I actually kind of like Houndsjump for this team in general because it can get fluffy too, which is a nice physical switch in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's plus he's got rockers, so spin blocker. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's not unfortunate because it would be super broken with Last Respects, but Houndstone can't really set up. But it does have the base 101 attack, so it's not weak.
I just wish it got like Shadow Claw or something because all it has is Phantom Force. Cause I was considering it too, but without the physical ghost stab, it's hard to justify.
No, exactly. Anything else on this team?
No, excited to see it in action. I hope Sprother gets a sweep. It'd be really fun.
Yeah. Sprother, man, that Pokemon is scary. I don't like it. I don't like playing against it. Alright. Next up is the Toledo Team Rockets, coached by Matt. He has Goldengo, Haxorus, Sandy Shocks. I'm so happy that this thing got drafted. Sylveon,
Me too.
Mabastiff, Jumpluff, Torkoal, Slitherwing, Frostmoth, and Scovillain. So super offensive team. Like super offensive team. He literally he has Sylveon. And that's his defensive Pokemon.
Torkoal kinda.
Yeah, Torkoal kinda too, but I mean I think more often than not it's gonna be running Heat Rock. So it can't run leftovers or heavy duty boots or something like that. But I mean Torkoal is not easy to kill. I would give you that. Pokemon I'm just excited to see. Slitherwing, I'm so excited to see. Scovillain, Sandy Shocks also. So, I mean, Sandy Shocks and Slitherwing get the photosynthesis boost from the sun. Jumpluff and Scovillain can use or chlorophyll users. And then Haxorus, honestly, I feel like it's going to be really easy to be, over-prepped for Sun, and then for Haxorus and Goldengo to come and just destroy your team. So, I really like the team. I think, the games Matt is involved in are going to be, 23 turns long, only. And, I mean, it might even be less than that. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, that means at least 17 turns where something doesn't die.
That's not necessarily true. I mean, it could be 6. It could be a 1-0, right? So that would be 11 turns of deaths. But
okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Maybe that would be ideal.
I meant on the opposing team.
No, you're right. You're right. Look, this team is just fun. It is so much fun. When he picked Goldengo first overall, I was not expecting it to go in this direction. He did have Jolteon and Crocodile at first. I do like the Sandy Shocks switch, though, because of spikes.
I love the switch.
Yeah. He got the spikes. You can get the photosynthesis speed boost to get your... to just Volt Switch around. And then, Stab, Earth Power, and Thunderbolt with a +1 attack boost if you run it that way is just, really scary. And then Mabastiff, just having the Intimidate in the Dark type, that's not Crocodile, I think it would be pretty good. At first I was really excited because it was Sylveon and Frostmoth can Terra Fire and Weather Ball, but Frostmoth lost Weather Ball, so it cannot do that. Which is really unfortunate, because I think that was my thought. But because it did lose Weather Ball, I think it's less good. But it can Terra, Quiver, and I mean that's still just pretty good. However you want to use it. I mean you get rid of your dual 4 times weakness. What are your thoughts on this team?
Torkoal Slitherwing is terrifying.
Yeah.
because you could run Scarf, Slitherwing, get the attack boost from Photosynthesis, and that thing gets Flare Blitz. So in the sun, yeah, it's scary, man. It's bulky too.
Yeah.
And then Scovillain, I think, was kind of underrated. Under the sun, that thing's gonna sweep.
Yeah, it can grow.
Frostmoth with this. Yep, Frostmoth with the Ice Scales ability, and Cantera with Quiver Dance. Even like Stakeout Mabosstiff is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, super offensive. Yeah, not sure what they switch into if they need to, but
right. Well, so like
yeah.
I said, it's gonna be either he's sweeping or he's getting walled out of a game. I think is kind of how it's gonna go. No toxic spikes, I think, really hurt this team because I think like against a bulkier team that could have been really useful. And from what I'm seeing, nothing that can toxic. But we haven't talked at all about Gholdengo, which is just a really good Pokemon.
Right.
It is a little easier to deal with when you can prep for it, I think. But I mean, Make It Rain is such a phenomenal move. It has a great ability that, it doesn't really. It's still just such a great Pokemon. Yeah, no, the Slitherwing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, are you just not going to bring status moves against this team? Like, of course not. So it's still, of course, you're still going to bring them. So it's still like a great switch in, even if you're prepping for it.
Right. And you can't defog against the Gholdengo. So I really like it. I mean, Slitherwing, to touch on it, I mean, the 135 attack, it's bulky, 81 speed. Yeah, you can run Banded. You can run Booster Energy. You can run Booster Energy attack boost with Flame Charge in the sun. I mean, that just terrifies the hell out of me. It gets close combat. It can First Impression, Flare Blitz. It can U-turn as well. Slitherwing is my favorite Pokemon from this generation, so I really, really want to see it do work. It also gets Stun Spore, and the other thing I think that's really people don't really talk about when they talk about Slitherwing and Sun is it gets Morning Sun. So I mean, it can heal like 75% of its health back. It also gets Leech Life as well, but it is going to be hell to deal with. I think maybe as the season moves along, we'll see Matt maybe drop like Scovillain, and pick up a bulkier Pokemon from Tier 3. But it's scary. I don't really know what else to say about the team besides the fact that it's scary.
Yeah, Slitherwing also gets bulk up body press, so if you need a physical wall.
True.
I think that's interesting too.
True, and just the bulk up potential in general, like.
And acrobatics after the booster energy.
Oh dang! Well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Super interesting.
Thankfully, it cannot Terra, so.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully for me, I should say, or for us. But yeah, I'm excited about this team. All right, let's move on to another debutante in the league, in Draft League, and that is Eric, coach of the Hartford Whalers. They took Great Tusk, Ceruledge, Wo-Chien, Satitan, Charizard, Raichu, Frigoraph, Weavile, Duxbun, and Rotom Frost. The Pokemon that can Terastallize are Charizard, Raichu, Duxbun, and Rotom Frost. Another really fascinating team, and another team with good speed tiers: 125, 110, 100, 95, 87, and so on and so forth. Great Tusk is really good. I'm interested to see if how he's going to set up the sun, because it feels like that's something that he might want to do with the solar power and with Ceruledge and also with the photosynthesis. Titan's scary with the belly drum. Wo-Chien's just a solid defensive Pokemon. Ceruledge is really good, I think. He has 2 fire type immunities. And then I think Fergraph's a really underrated setup sweeper. I really like that Pokemon. And then he has the Doxman. And Rotom Frost also I think is probably one of the best Terastallizers.
I agree.
In Pokemon, because it has Levitate, and then it'll have Blizzard as coverage, and you can just terrestrialize into an electric type or whatever you want it to be. Really interesting type overlap. It is Eric's first draft ever, so I think for as far as like first drafts go and like being new to competitive even, I think it's a pretty solid team. Some type overlaps, but there's some fun stuff you can do with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Only one rocker I'm seeing, and no spikes, and no toxic spikes.
Yeah.
So no hazards. So maybe that's a mark of being new to competitive and not like truly appreciating what hazards can do.
True.
See, Titan and Weavile, both those mons, and Rotom Frost, all those mons would really appreciate Snowskate.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I almost feel like he should drop what's his tier 2? Is it Cerulege, and what else? Is Farigiraf tier 2?
No, so he has 3 tier 3s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is another team that Slowking would be awesome on.
Yeah, Slowking would be great. I mean, and he does have Charizard, so maybe he doesn't need Cerulege. Cerulege is really cool, though, so...
It is really cool. It's just such a cool mon, and it's great. So, yeah. The defense boost from Snowscape would be really great for his ice types, and
yes.
Sea Titan under snow, obviously, with Slush Rush.
Yeah.
Super scary.
Yeah.
Really scary. Yeah, like a lot of really good individual mons. I remember when we had Wo-Chien in tier 4 and we moved it up to tier 3. If that mon stayed in tier 4, that would have been my first overall pick probably. Because getting that mon with Terra would have been insane.
Yeah,
but it's still really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think I don't really, I think you mentioned some of the weaknesses. No spikes, no T-spikes, I think is really big. No switch initiative besides Will Switch on Rotom Frost and Raichu. And it's pretty rare that you see 3 ice types. You can Terra, so it's different now. Weavile got a pretty big nerf without knockoff or throat chop. So it gets beat up, which is still decent. But like you said, he's going to have to manually set up the snow with either Weavile or Titan, which is really not something you want to spend a turn doing with either of those Pokemon. So I like this. I like the Slowking shout. I mean, I think Grace is over, but it probably is worth, using, even if it's just dropping Weavile and picking up Slowking, and then maybe dropping Farigiraf and picking up another tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is something you can do. So, I think it's a good start, and it's still a super threatening team. A great Tusk and is going to do a ton of damage to you. If he does get a belly drum off with the Titan, it's super scary. Farigiraf can't be Can't be prioritied with its armor tail ability. And also the Sap Sipper is nice for Great Tusk as well, just to have that.
Super nice.
And to have the Flash Fire and Well-Baked Body, like one of the best ways to deal with Great Tusk is to Will-O-Wisp it. But you can either give Cerulege or Darkspun a boost by doing that. So I do think those were nice picks to have with it.
Yeah, I also like the Wo-Chien Darkspun synergy for the switch in for the fire moves and the fighting moves.
True. Yeah, very true.
So, yeah, it's definitely a cool team, and I think a lot of mons are individually really good.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how he puts it together.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the Milwaukee Mewers, coached by Sahil, the commissioner of this league, as he likes to remind everybody. He doesn't really. I just make fun of him.
Honestly, man, I didn't even know that, so I think that's evidence that he does not like to remind people.
No, he does like to remind people. Don't get it twisted. But
okay,
he had the 7th overall pick Garchomp falling to 7th, absolutely insane.
Wild.
Literally, I mean, I was considering Garchomp very heavily at tier 3, but I've used Garchomp. I just wanted to use something new. Garchomp getting spikes is so stupid. It makes it so good. And it's just, like, legitimately just one of the most solid Pokemon that you can bring every single week. And it's just so good. He also got Scizor, Slowbro, Florges, Arboliva, Sneasel, Glimmora, Rotom Heat, Passimian, and Spiritomb. His Pokemon that can Terastallize are Spiritomb, Passimian, Sneasel, and Arboliva. I really like this team. I really like this team. I think it's such a good balance team. Speed is a bit of a problem, I will say. Sneasel, I think was taken at the end to kind of deal with that, but it is a bit of a problem for sure. And Sneasel, it gets beat up and bite, like that's a stab on the dark side. But I don't think that really matters. Like those first 3 Pokemon are just a staple of Draft League synergy. Like those Pokemon work so well together. Garchomp's weaknesses are covered by Scizor. Scizor's weaknesses are covered by the other 2. Slowbro's weaknesses are covered by the other 2. Those Pokemon work so well together. Scizor did lose to Roost. But Florges can just come in and wish them up. You can run Seed Sower Arboliva and get up the terrain to help heal you up. Obviously, Garchomp, doesn't like the terrain so much, but I think Arboliva is just a really solid Pokemon as well with 125 special attack, 109 special defense, 90 defense. A Pokemon I really wanted.
I wanted it too.
Yeah, so I think that's a great Pokemon. I was running Strength Sap Harvest on the ladder. It was really good.
Oh shoot.
Wait, Glimmora gets Corrosion? I did not know that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, wow. That actually makes it even better in Draft League than you don't even necessarily bringing Toxic Debris, because you can bring the Toxic Spikes. Apparently, Sneasel gets Toxic Spikes now? What the hell is that?
I did not know that.
Okay, no, it doesn't.
That means Weavile.
No,
Okay.
It does not. It's mixing it. The doc is mixing it up with Hisuian Sneasel. So, okay. Well, that makes more sense. But, yeah. Anyway, Glimmora, really good Pokemon to pair with Garchomp and Scizor because it can get all those hazards up.
So good with this team.
Yeah. Rotom Heat, another phenomenal pick with the team for that switch initiative. A Will-O-Wisp switch-in, and a Thunder Wave switch-in. Passimian, man. You have Glimmora. You can't defog because Passimian's there. You're like, oh, I'm going to bring in my Fairy. Nope. Let me Terra into a Poison type and Gunk Shot you. And you are dead. At +2. Spiritomb there for the spin block. Spiritomb, I think, one of the most underrated Pokemon in Draft League. 108 special defense, 108 defense, and 92 in both its attacks. It can run both. It can Will-O-Wisp. It can Taunt. It can Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak. It can also Terra as well. I don't know, man. I really like this team.
Me too, man. And I think Glimmora, like you were saying, Glimmora Garchomp is just such a good combo because you have like one of the best rapid spin punishers. Because if you decide to bring Bulky Chomp one match, you have Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet.
Yeah.
Like you're taking like a quarter of your health just for rapid spinning. Well, and was it really worth it?
Right.
So, and then if you defog, you've got Passimian. So, and I also wanted Scizor. I wanted Scizor too. I think the Bullet Punch priority is really huge. Like a lot of things that set up Bullet Punch is like a really good safety net.
No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. I love the game.
Removal is always hard to come by, but he does have Scizor with Defog, and he does have the Rapid Spin the Mortal Spin from Glimmora. So, yeah, just a really, really solid team. It's going to be really difficult to deal with. Scizor gets close combat now, so that's also good. Florges,
loses Roost, though, right?
It did lose Roost, yes. Florges is one of those Pokemon that I think is always better in theory than it actually performs, so I'm interested to see how Sahel uses it. But I do think the Wish Pass into Garchomp, Scizor, Rotom Heat, and even Glamora is going to be quite good. And then I think Leech Seed is another move that's going to be really good on this team from the Arboliva. So, yeah, really fun team, really good team, and it is really difficult to get the type of synergy he got at as a number 7 pick in an 11-team draft. So honestly, props for those first few picks. And Sahil was like, you know what, I everyone's picking these new Pokemon. I'm just gonna take Garchomp, Scizor, Slowbro.
Yeah.
Because it works.
I mean, if you want to win, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck the new toys.
Exactly, but he got Glamora and he got Arboliva, so he's got some of those there as well. But a team I am so excited to see in action. All right, next up is Evan's Gambit, coached by TRT. So TRT drafted Iron Treads, Dondozo, Gardevoir, Salazzle, Flamigo, Knucklestack, Meowscarada, Dragonite, Rotom Haunter, the Pokemon that can Terastallize are Flamigo, Knucklestack, Rotom and Haunter. Another team I just adore. I love this team. TRT might be the best battler in the league. He's a great battler. He's won a lot of championships and a lot of competitive leagues. So he definitely knows how to battle, but he drafted a lot of new Pokemon that are fun to use. And then he just, overall solid. He has a lot of nice synergy. He has 3 Toxic Spike users. That's crazy. He has Spikes and Meowscarada, Stealth Rocks from Treads, and Knucklestack. A lot of taunt users. Flamigo, I think, can be a phenomenal tier 4. With the base 115, I think. Yeah, base 115 attack. It can Terra, close combat, scrappy. Haunter, another, I think, really underrated Pokemon that can Terastallize with a lot of coverage and with the Levitate. Rotom, again, another phenomenal Terra user. And Rotom Levitate actually means something for the first time ever. So that's really nice as well. And then Dragonite is super scary. Even though it can't Terra normal, it is just a super scary Pokemon. It can defog. Dondozo for the unaware stuff. Gardevoir, I think the combination of Trace and Mirror Herb, is something that I think is just awesome. I hope that gets used because Mirror Herb is such a cool move. I don't want to say anything actually, but I just think that's a cool combination. Salazzle, I think, was something he really, he needed on the team. A fast fire type is something he needed. Knucklestack with Purifying Salt. Just a fun team overall.
Yeah, this is my favorite team, I think, in terms of cool new mons, fun to use, and also just really good. Treads, great steel type, faster than Tusk, gets Rapid Spin, gets Volt Switch. Dondozo's just a monster. That thing is terrifying.
Dondozo's ridiculous.
Basically, that thing's so hard to counter. Gardevoir, I love running Scarf Gardevoir because that thing just hits so hard. You mentioned Flamigo. Meowscarada with Protean, even after the nerf, is going to be so good.
Yes.
I really love this team.
It's a solid team that works together. It has new Pokemon. Recovery is, I think, a bit of a problem on the team. He has Wish Gardevoir, and then Dondozo can run Rest, and Dragonite can Roost. Actually, Knucklestack also gets Recover, doesn't it? So maybe it's not a problem. But I mean, I do think having a really good Wish Passer would have been pretty cool on this team. But I do think these Pokemon that he's and Knucklestack is just good, I think. 100 base defense, 165 base special defense with the Eviolite is really solid. It can't be statused, and Salt Cure is probably my favorite new move. that they
Yeah.
introduced. It's so good. And then he's got the setup potential in Dragonite. Quark Drive is just a really good ability. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, Salt Cure, like in a metagame where a lot of mons lost Toxic, is just so valuable.
It is, yeah.
Because you get the residual damage from a defensive mon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that
Although,
mon.
when I'm on the ladder and I Salt Cure things, I always wonder, like, why don't you just switch out? Like my opponent. Why aren't you switching out? But,
right.
Yeah, whatever. TOT is smarter than that, so... he's gonna be really. It's gonna be really difficult. It's gonna be really difficult to deal with. I would say. And he's got, like you said, he's got some good switch initiative with the 2 Volt Switch users, and Meowscarada and Flamigo get U-turn as well. So, yeah, I love it. It's a great team. Anything else on this one?
No, that's it.
All right, moving on. 3 teams left. We got another debutante. We got the... I can't click. We've got the Dublin Dragons, coached by Pranav, or Pats0828. We have Iron Hands, Iron Jugulis, Bronzong, Quagsire, Tauros, Paldea, Altaria, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Lycanroc, Dusk, and the Cryogonal. The Pokemon that can terrestrialize are Cryogonal, Tauros, Paldea, and Altaria. So, I think this is a really fascinating team. It's a team that's pretty balanced and can do some things. Quagsire gets every single hazard in the game besides Sticky Web. And then he has 4 phasers, which I think is really good. Lycanroc Dusk, super underrated. Tough Claws Accelerock is so good. It's so good. He has the Fire type immunity with Arcanine. To switch into those Will-O-Wisps. He can absorb the Toxic Spikes with Amoonguss. He got some good removal in Altaria and Cryogonal. And then Iron Hands and Iron Jugulis are just scary Pokemon, I think. And Bronzong.
Yeah, I really...
Bronzong's just a solid.
Yeah, and... Yeah, with first screens, especially. Yeah, I really like this team. Yeah, Hands, sneakily... Like, you look at those typings and you think, like, highly offensive, but they're, like, pretty decent defensive typings, too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not bad.
And it's bulky as hell.
Yeah, so bulky. Yeah, so, I mean, he's got my mascot, Altaria, and I think that one is kind of a sneaky tier 5, because it's got great bulk. It can Terra against, like, say, the Torkoal team. It can switch it in and get rid of Sun, which would be super nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got another Levitate Mon that can Terastallize. So, I don't know if does Cryogonal get any electric moves? I don't think it does.
I think it might get Charge Beam, but I don't. Let me check.
No, I don't see any. I'm looking.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been really cool. Like, some Bolt Beam coverage would have been nice. But still, it's a good Mon. Tauros, Paldea with Intimidate is nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's like a really well-rounded team that it can definitely make some waves.
Yeah, and Natural Cure, Unaware, and Regenerator are just really good defensive abilities. And then Bronzong, I love Bronzong. I mean, it's a really solid stealth rocker. And you know, the Steel type with Levitate is always super nice.
And you never know if it's gonna have that or Heat Proof, so you're always having to play a mind game.
True.
There.
Yeah.
So it almost has both of them at once.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I do think since he has so many, well, actually no, he could definitely run both. Yeah, I mean, you know, Amoonguss Spore is so annoying, so like that's also a really nice for him to have.
Yeah.
Oh, Iron Hands gets Volt Switch. I didn't know that.
I did not either.
That's interesting. Also, 3 Snowscape users doesn't really mean much, but it could.
Slow Volt Switch is interesting on Iron Hands.
It is, yeah, it is. You know, Iron Hands. I mean, he can Belly Drum. it can run the booster energy. I do think it would have been really awesome if he could have gotten Pincurchin, but Pincurchin went really early. But I could have given him hazards and the electric terrain for hands and Jugulus.
Yeah.
So, like, that would have been really cool, but unfortunately, we'll see in a second here that the Pincurchin went pretty early, but Quagsire, Amoonguss, solid, and Bronzong, really solid lower tier defensive Pokemon. And then Hands, Jugulus, Dusk, Lycanroc Dusk are just really solid attacking threats. And, you know, he ended up, he got the removal at the end with Cragnole and Altaria, but one of those is probably going to have to come every single week. Which maybe is a bit unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do in this generation in terms of removal.
Right.
Anything else for the Dublin Dragons?
No, a balanced team that I think can compete with most of the other teams, so excited to see how it does.
Agreed. Alright, our penultimate team. We have Critic, new to the IPL. A very good battler. He's coach of the Ramstein Raichus. With Salamence, Grimmsnarl, Earthworm, Pincurchin, Grafaiai, Floatzel, Skeledirge, Sarina, Hippowdon, and Heracross. His terrestrialized users are Serena, Floatzel, and Grafaiai. Really cool team. Really, really cool team. Really annoying to deal with. I like the electric terrain Unburden combination with Grafaiai. I think that can be really difficult to deal with. Grafaiai gets Swords Dance. It can Terra Flying and Acrobatics after it eats its Electric Seed. He has the Ground type immunity with the Earth Eater Earthworm. He has 3 Spikes users, 2 Stealth Rocks users, a Toxic Spike user. Grimmsnarl can set up screens for Salamence or for the Unburden boost. You know, Floatzel is interesting. I mean, he doesn't have any rain set up for the Swift Swim, but Wavecraft.
Grafaiai.
Oh, Prankster, yeah. Wait, does he get Rain Dance?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, he gets the Prankster Rain Dance. There you go. He has 2 Prankster Pokemon, actually, so that's kind of wild. Salamence, a really solid setup sweeper. Skeledirge, also another really bulky setup Pokemon that can run unaware. Serena's solid Rapid Spinner that can terrestrialize into any one of its coverage moves, like Terra High Jump Kick, Terra Play Rough, Hippowdon. Hippowdon didn't get spikes either. That stinks for it, but it still has Stealth Rocks and can still recover and do its thing. And then Heracross is a really nice status eater with its Guts ability as well. So really, really solid team. I didn't even mention Shedtail and the Earthworm, I don't think. Really solid team that I think is going to be so annoying to prep for and deal with. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I love Heracross. I love Heracross as a Scarfer. I think Floatzel's super underrated if you can get up Rain. I was surprised Dirge went so late. Like, I think him getting his Skeledirge so late in the draft was like a huge pick.
Yeah.
Because that Mon can wall and it can set up sweep. So, yeah. I like this team a lot. And the Grimmsnarl with screens. Like, screens unaware. Like, what are you going to do? How are you even going to damage it?
No, yeah.
Well,
you
just
can't.
set the torch on.
Right. No, you literally, you can't really. It's gonna be so stupid. I mean, if you get screens up and you Shedtail into Salamence too, and it gets like a Dragon Dance Moxie boost, like,
right,
it's gonna be so annoying. Or you Pincurchin, you Memento into Earthworm, behind screens. You can't break the sub because you're Mementoed, and it's behind screens, so he sheds tails into Grafaiai, and then Grafaiai Swords Dances. I mean, there's just so many possibilities on the team. And Wave Crash is such a big buff for water types like Floatzel, like having a water type Flare Blitz in the rain, and it can also Terra to water and hit that, makes it so strong. Like, it is almost impossible to switch into, so Yeah, I really love the team. I think it's like I said when he was drafting this, I told him like this is the most annoying team that I think I see. Like I really am dreading playing this team.
It's scary. I think I do see it as like kind of high variance personally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it does need the setup. It does need the setup in some way, and if you prep well for the particular way that he sets up, then I feel like not much is going to be able to get done. But if you prep a little wrong, then it's just going to sweep you.
True.
So it's I see it as high variance in that way.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Any final thought? I apologize for you guys at the end of the draft. We're moving quicker now that we're at the end, or that has been over an hour. So I apologize. But any other thoughts on this team here?
Nah, we also talked about ourselves for a while.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we know what we were thinking, right? So it's a little easier,
right? Yeah.
To analyze.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not wrong there. Okay, last team. Also new to the IBL, another really good battler. Austin, coach of the Manchester Umbrians, has Annihilate, Hydreigon, Gastrodon, Toxtricity, Scyther, Go-Go, Garganical, Talonflame, Klefki, Indeedee. Well, that's his whole team. His Terastallizers are Scyther, Go-Goat, and Indeedee. Yes, Scyther, Go-Go, Indeedee. Another team I quite like. Speed, I think, is a bit of a problem on the team. You know, Talonflame and Scyther are fast, but, like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of either of those Pokemon. But, you know, Garganical, Gastrodon is such a fun combination. Obviously, you know, the grass types there, but you do have Scyther and Talonflame for the grass types.
And Go-Goat.
And Go-Go, yeah, the Sap Sipper. You're right about that. Yeah. You know, Klefki, I think, is a really solid Pokemon. It can set up spikes. It can set up screens. It can set up weather. He has 4 Stealth Rock users, and he does have the T-Spikes on Toxtricity as well. By far the most Switch initiative in the league right now, with 4 U-Turners and a Volt Switcher, which, you know, is solid. He has the Psychic Terrain for Indeedee, which, you know, could clash with Talonflame if you're running Gale Wings, but, you know, I mean, yeah, that's really the only thing that I could see. And, you know, also, the Psychic Terrain plus Prankster can sometimes be a little bit iffy, but Indeedee is just, you know, a solid Pokemon, and it gave him a normal type for you know, to pair with Annihilate. Annihilate cannot Terra, but it's still such a good Pokemon with Rage Fist, and with its bulk, 110 HP, 115 attack, and it's still got the 90 speed, so that's a Pokemon that, you know, it just takes a little bit, it takes a couple hits, and it all of a sudden has 150 base stab in Rage Fist. And Hydreigon too, just a really solid Pokemon that can do a lot of different things, so... yeah, what do you think? What do you think of his of the Manchester Umbrians here?
Yeah, I think Indeedee was really big for the special defense wall, because I think there's not a lot there otherwise. I think he'll probably bring Assault Vest on something, a lot of matches. Yeah. I think Talonflame, like you were mentioning, Gale Wings kind of conflicts with Psychic Surge. I don't love Talonflame as an attacker. I kind of like it as like a bulky flame body.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good in that role. It's good in that role, I think.
And
it can defog.
Yeah,
too.
it still gets Roost, right?
I believe so. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Defog Roost. Even just like an air slash. Yeah, I like that mon. Scyther, yeah, the Terastallizers, I'm not quite sure what the strategy is, but I should figure it out because I'm playing him in the first week. Toxtricity is a good mon with Boom Burst, which is scary if you don't have a lot of resists. And like you were mentioning, Annihilate, like that thing, you gotta have a plan for it. if you don't have a plan for it, you're gonna get popped.
Right. No, Scyther. I mean, Scyther's a really, I think, a pretty underrated Pokemon. It got Trailblaze, which is a nice move that it got. You know, being able to Terra and boost some of its Technician moves, I think, could be pretty interesting. Go-Go, too, can bulk up. Garganical, one of my favorite Pokemon. You know, like I said, Solcure is my favorite new move. And, you know, yeah, I mean, like, you look at his special defense, you know, he doesn't have, like, a standout special defense wall, but, I mean, you just look at the stats, 80, 90, 95, 90, 70, 75. I'm looking at speed. No, I'm not. 69, 80, 90, 95, 90, 70, 87, 81, 82, 90. That's the special defense roll. I mean, like, nothing over 100, but it's all like pretty decent. So like the team itself can take a lot of special hits. And then you look at the HP stats of like the bottom 3 Pokemon there, Go-Go, Gastrodon, Garganical, 123, 111, 100. Like they can be special walls if they need to be, I think. And then screens also are there as well. So, yeah, I mean...
Does he get both genders of Indeedee?
No, this is Indeedee male.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because the female has 10 more special defense.
Yes, and it gets like Healing Wish.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, this one's faster. It's more of an attacking Pokemon. But yeah, I mean, well, I think Austin will be able to do some work with this team. Hydreigon, you know, covers the weaknesses of Annihilate pretty well. I think he'll end up running bulky Hydreigon. Not more often than not, but I think he'll have to bring it a couple times this season. But it's a team that can wear you down with the Stealth Rock and Spikes and T-Spikes, and just, you know, keep switching on you, which, you know, playing against that is really difficult. And, you know, like I said, Klefki with the Klefki with Prankster is really good with the T-Wave, Prankster T-Wave. Talonflame can Flame Body or Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, Talonflame can Flame Body Will-O-Wisp you. You know, Gastron with the Storm Drain is nice too. It's another team with a water and grass type immunity through ability. And Toxtricity is scary, dude. If Toxtricity throw sprays or, like, you know, Shift Gear throw sprays with Boom Burst, it's tough to deal with. So, yeah, some good recovery too. Gastron, Hydreigon, Scyther lost Roost, but Gastron, Hydreigon, Garganical, and Talonflame can all Roost or recover. So, something to keep in mind as well. Alright, anything else on this team before we move to look at the matchups?
No, let's go to matchups.
Alright, so we're going to quickly go through these matchups here. The first matchup that we are going to be looking at is actually your game. and it's the Atlanta Altaria versus the Manchester Umbreon that we just talked about. You know, obviously, like, we don't really want you don't have to reveal too much here, and you know, I think when we do these previews, we don't want to speculate too much on sets, just in case we don't give anything away. But on the initial glance, this is a fascinating matchup. Like, I don't think there's like a clear matchup advantage for either team, which I really like. I really like matchups like that. I like Screamtail in the matchup. I also think Annihilate, if it's, you know, behind screens, I don't think I'm giving anything away there. Like, Annihilate and screens it's hard to deal with. But it just, when I'm looking, I can see Pokemon. I can see you guys trading, especially late game. You know, it'll be how do you feel about this matchup?
I feel like this is like, I feel like it's a pretty even matchup, and I feel like it's a good one to open up the season. Kind of just see where my team is at, because, it'll just be a good barometer for how I'm using it well. Because if I'm feeling good with the team, then I should have a good chance, and if I lose, then maybe I need to make some changes. Because I do, like, on paper, like you were saying, I think it does look pretty even.
I wouldn't make changes after 1 week, Griffin. Even if you lose.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, unless you see a glaring weakness, you know. Austin's a good battler. I do think Yeah, well, it's hard. It's hard. I think a Moth is really good in your matchup too. It's good in every matchup
Yeah, I
though.
don't know if I'm gonna bring it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might not bring it. I think I'd rather sweep with Masquerain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Swalot could be a nice setup sweeper.
Okay, we didn't talk about Swalot.
No,
All right,
we didn't.
Swalot is kind of sick.
No, yeah, it's his poison type that gets T-spikes. It's bulky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good matchup. Let's do predict. I mean, you don't have to predict for yourself, but I'll do a prediction.
I won't.
I think you're gonna take this one 2-0. I think it's gonna be a really, really good and interesting matchup. And I think it's gonna be a lot of early game like poking kind of, and then some late game trading, and eventually you'll come up on top. I think I like some of your offensive threats a little bit more than his against each other. So I'm gonna take you 2-0. By the way, guys, if you guys are still listening to this, props to you. We will be doing pick'ems. Make sure you go check out the pick'ems channel in the league Discord. All right, next up is me, Green Bay versus the Green Bay Emperors versus the Columbus. What is his team name? Calyrex. And I gotta say, I feel pretty good about this matchup. I feel pretty good. I got my team built. I know what I'm bringing. I'm not gonna say anything else, but I feel good about it. I think, yeah, I like my chances. That's all I'll say for now.
Yeah, I think I won't do a ton of evaluation either because you literally sent me your team for this.
Oh, true.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I would also take you in this matchup. Yeah, I like what you're bringing. This team is balanced, but I think matchup wise, I like your team. So I think I'll take you. I think I'll take you 4-0 in this.
4-0. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, just based on what I know.
Yeah.
About what you're bringing.
Yeah.
And I think I think some of your threats perform well here. Like in some weeks when your threats don't really perform well, it's a little scary, but I think they perform well in this matchup. So.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think I have some good offensive Pokemon that I can bring. He has. I mean, at the end of the day, he just has scary Pokemon though. Like he has Iron Hands. If that thing belly drums, like it can win. Jugulus can wear your team down. Lycanroc Dusk can, if it's Swords Dance, it's another Pokemon that can win. But I do like, some of my. It's hard to say. Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate that we both know what I'm bringing, but
yeah.
So it's hard to evaluate, but I do like some of my defensive Pokemon as well. We'll leave it at that. But I do back myself to win this week as well. All right, let's look at the third matchup. The first one we can look at objectively, so that's fun. We have the Dublin Dragons versus the Rammstein Raichus. This is such a fascinating matchup again.
Oh man, I don't even know what to do with this one.
I back Critic to win because I think just Critic's like a really good battler. This is Samir's first draft league, so that's always But I do think the combination of like Grimmsnarl and Grafaiai is kind of difficult for Dragapult to deal with. Salamence to Tinkaton. I think Ice Spinner gets rid of screens. Is that true? Right? Or am I? Is that wrong?
Let's see. I'm trying to find one that gets it.
I think Donphan.
And the effects of terrain. Terrain.
Terrain. Okay. Well, I mean that could actually be pretty big too. So that's kind of cool. Donphan gets Ice Spinner. Do any of Samir's Pokemon get Brick Break? Because that could be something that he brings to potentially play against the screens there.
It would have to be Tinkaton, wouldn't it? Let's see.
I would think Tinkaton Tinkaton does get it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something there. I do really like Salamence in this matchup.
Good switch in too.
It is a good switch.
Grimmsnarl.
True, yeah. Grimmsnarl has a hard time dealing with. Tyranitar is also just a really good switch in against Grimmsnarl. I mean, I know it's a fair or Grimmsnarl's fairy, but like, you know, not being able to be taunted or thunder waved, like just being a dark type is really good against Grimmsnarl. Yeah, I mean, I think if Samir does bring toxic spikes, that could be pretty big in this matchup. Because yeah, I mean, toxic spikes are always good, but again, especially if you could potentially get Skeledirge toxic spiked.
Yeah, I think Grafaiai is coming though in this matchup.
Probably, I would think so. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a path for Samir to win. I think, like, just Dragapult and Tyranitar could always win. And actually, like, those two Pokemon, I said Dragapult does have a bit of a hard time with some of his Pokemon. But Dragapult does get Infiltrators, so it kind of ignore screens.
True.
And, Tyranitar kind of does work against Critic's team.
It does.
So, I think we might see a Heracross here. To try to deal with T-Tar, but
what's the speed? Does Heracross outspeed Tyranitar?
It does, yeah. I believe Heracross is 85 and Tyranitar is 61. I want to say.
Yep.
Let me look it up. Yeah, 85 right. Heracross. Yep, 61. Oh, God, I'm such a nerd.
Was this because of our ability draft battle? Is that how you remember?
No, I just remember them individually. I don't really remember them in relation to each other much.
Dang, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, 85 is like one of those ones where you kind of, yeah. And 61 is such a unique one too. I feel like it's easier to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Raichus in a 3-0 win. So yeah, Samir has a lot of potential as a battler. Like I said, he's new, but I do sometimes think he's a little impatient. He's my cousin, so I'm probably a little bit harder on him than other people. but he gets a little impatient, so I think if he slows down and evaluates the game, I think he has a chance to win. But I'm gonna take Critic in a 3-0 victory.
That is what I was going to say.
All right, we're on the same page.
About the 3-0. Yep.
Nice. All right, second to last matchup, the Toledo team. Game of the week. Toledo Team Rockets versus, and this will probably, usually we try to stream one game. This might be the one we stream. Toledo Team Rockets versus Evans Gambit. I really don't know what to make of this matchup either. There's so many fun interactions here that could happen. Again, I think T-Spikes are going to be huge for TRT if he can get those up. Dondozo can do a lot of work in this matchup, just as kind of like an unaware wall. I like Gardevoir Trace against Sun teams. I really like it.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't know if Trace works. I don't know how Trace works with Photosynthesis. Like, would Gardevoir get a boost to its highest stat in the Sun?
It might. It really might.
So I mean,
that's cool.
That's pretty cool too. So there's so many abilities for Gardevoir to Trace in this matchup though, which I really like. So TRT, like I said, I think is the best battler in the league. And I think I kind of just trust him, so I think I'm going to take him in like a 1-0 victory, but I kind of do like Matt's matchup, honestly. I think Matt has a decent matchup, although Dragonite is difficult to deal with for Matt, now that I'm looking at it.
I wonder if Shocks or Scovillain, if either one of them can one-shot Dondozo. That's my question. I want to calc that.
I really doubt it. Maybe Solar Beam? Well, I guess if he has a photosynthesis boost in the Sun, it probably could.
For Shocks.
Yeah, Probably
Shock.
Thunderbolt. Yeah, that's interesting. Sandy Shocks.
Because
Sandy Shocks is Sandy Shocks is really good in this matchup.
it is really good. It's really good.
I think Matt can very easily win this. Honestly, not very easily, but what I mean is like there's a really good chance that Matt can win. So.
Yeah, how do I like Meowscarada in this? I don't think I love it. I don't think I love it in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I could see with Meowscarada is its spikes and T spikes, and then like Sucker Punch could be. They get Sucker Punch, right?
I don't know. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, it does. So I mean, that could be.
Okay, nice.
I think that could be pretty good, actually, the Sucker Punch aspect of it. Yeah, but I think, like, the spikes or T-spikes could be pretty good. Meowscarada, but I see why you don't like it. I mean, he has first impression. He has a bunch of fire. Yeah. He has two first...
What about Frostmoth? What do you think of Frostmoth in this matchup? I feel like it's kind of good.
I can see why it could be good, but I do think it has a hard time setting up, and Dondozo with Unaware, I think, makes it a little bit harder to...
That's true.
And like, the thing about Frostmoth is, like, it's so bulky on the special side, but, like, it'll die to a Fire Punch from Dragonite. Or, like, even, like...
Well, it can Terra.
It can Terra, but, I mean...
Or Terra Grass Giga Drain on...
True.
A Dondozo for 125 special attack.
That's true. I still think, like, between, like, Iron Treads and Dragonite, and even, if yeah, I mean, I think, like, it can be dealt with. But I guess, like, from my perspective, if I were Matt, there's other Pokemon I think I would bring. Like,
okay.
But I could see Frostmoth working. Because, like, Dragonite's so hard to deal with, you might just want your Ice type,
Mm-hmm.
So... I'm gonna take Tiratina 1-0 though. I don't feel great about that prediction though.
All right, well then, just for fun, I'll take Matt in a 1-0. Even though TRT's team is my favorite one, it's still my favorite team. But I think, yeah, I can see the other team winning 1-0.
I like it. All right, last matchup of the day, the week. The Hartford Whalmers versus the Milwaukee Mewers. Just looking at this initially, I like Sahil's matchup quite a bit. Scizor,
me too.
Kind of wreck shop. With Bullet Punch and U-turn. He does have Ceruledge and Charizard, and he can Farigiraf, I guess, but Farigiraf can't really switch into a U-turn, so I really like this matchup for Sahil. I like Glimmora, Garchomp, like I like the hazards he could bring. Rotom Heat is a really nice Weavile counter. So I like Sahil on this one. What do you think?
Me too. Yeah, me too. I think a Terra Rotom Frost could be interesting for who's the other team?
Eric.
What's the other name? Eric. Okay. Yeah, it could be really interesting for Eric. I mean, Bullet Punch just rips through the ice types.
Yeah.
And like a lot of his threats are attackers. Scizor and Garchomp both have great defenses, and Slowbro, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely like the matchup for Sahil.
And again, like Eric's removal option's Tusk. So I mean, Glimmora and Garchomp, if they can get their stuff up, like, and I mean, if Sahil brings Spirit to him, he can just block the Rapid Spin. So
yeah,
I like Sahil. I think Sahil's gonna win 5-0. I'm gonna say 5-0 Sahil. I'm gonna have faith in my brother, the commissioner.
I'll say 4-0. I don't think I would go 5-0. I think Tusk is good enough to get a kill, and I think I hope he brings Rotom Frost, and I feel like that can get a kill too. Because Glimmora is gonna die, I think.
Yeah.
right? Like that's going to be one death, and I think that there'll probably be one more.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So that concludes our week 1 coverage. Real quickly, right before we go, I want you to pick a champion and a kill leader. I'll go first.
Oh, man.
Since I put you on the spot.
Okay.
I think TRT is gonna win the league. If I don't, obviously. I'm joking. But I think TRT is gonna win the league, and I think the kill leader is going to be Garchomp.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Garchomp. I just think it's so good in this meta. Like, I can see getting 2 kills every week.
Well, so you took TRT, so I'm not going to take TRT, even though I already said it's my favorite team. So I'm going to take Sahil to
Ooh,
win.
Okay.
And I think the kill leader is going to be Swalot. No, I'm kidding. Excalibur.
Tinglu with
Tinglu
with spikes. Tinglu with just spikes kills.
The passive kills. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Honestly, like in this one with everything getting hazards and removal being so hard to find, like that's not a horrible take to say that a spiker, like someone's best. Like if you were to say
Glimmora, yeah,
is the kill leader.
Yeah.
Glimmora as the kill leader is a really spicy pick because they've got good special attack too.
Yeah, it has a lot of offensive potential. Sweet. All right, Baxcalibur. I like that too. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe so you can see the battles for this league. You can also join the Discord server, which is in the description down below. I know we do have some viewers that aren't in the Discord server, so if you want to watch the matches live, make sure you hit that. Coaches, make sure you choose your pick'ems. But we'll see you guys next time for IPL Weekly. Bye, guys.